There's one drink that researchers have specifically studied for its effect on blood flow to your legs and feet, and the results have been strong enough that some doctors now recommend it to patients dealing with poor circulation. It's not a supplement pill, it's not expensive, and there's a good chance you've walked right past it in the produce section without knowing what it does. Stick around, because I'll explain exactly how much to drink and when it works best. Hi everyone, welcome back to Wise Body Wellness. Today we're talking about beet juice, and specifically the research behind its effect on circulation in the legs and feet, something that becomes an increasingly common concern after 60. Poor circulation can show up as cold feet, tingling, cramping during walks, or slow healing of minor cuts and scrapes on the lower legs. Let's look at what the research actually says this drink can do. Why circulation to the legs and feet declines with age. Before we get to beet juice itself, it helps to understand what's actually happening. As we age, blood vessels naturally become slightly less flexible and less efficient at widening and narrowing in response to the body's needs, a process influenced by declining levels of a compound called nitric oxide. Nitric oxide is produced by the lining of your blood vessels and plays a central role in helping vessels relax and widen, allowing blood to flow more freely. Your legs and feet are particularly affected by circulation changes because they're the farthest points from your heart, requiring blood to travel the longest distance against gravity. This is part of why symptoms like cold feet, cramping during walking, or slow healing of minor injuries tend to show up in the lower body first, even when circulation issues exist throughout the body more broadly. How beet juice becomes nitric oxide. Beets are naturally high in dietary nitrates, and when you drink beet juice, bacteria in your mouth and digestive tract convert a portion of those nitrates into nitrite, which your bloodstream then converts into nitric oxide. This is a well-established biological pathway, not a theoretical one, and it's been studied extensively in exercise science and cardiovascular research over the past 2 decades. Once nitric oxide levels rise, blood vessels throughout the body, including the smaller vessels in your legs and feet, are able to relax and widen more effectively, a process called vasodilation. Wider blood vessels allow blood to flow more easily, which is the core mechanism researchers point to when explaining beet juice's effect on circulation. Several clinical studies have measured this directly using blood flow imaging and have found meaningful increases in blood flow to the lower limbs within just a few hours of drinking concentrated beet juice, making it one of the more directly measurable dietary effects on circulation available in current research. Now here's where the research gets specifically relevant to older adults dealing with actual circulation symptoms, not just healthy young athletes. Beet juice and peripheral artery disease. Some of the most compelling research on beet juice and circulation comes from studies involving people with peripheral artery disease, a condition where narrowed arteries reduce blood flow to the legs, often causing pain or cramping during walking. One notable clinical trial gave beet juice to older adults with peripheral artery disease before a treadmill walking test and compared their performance to a group given a placebo drink. This is a meaningful finding because peripheral artery disease affects a significant percentage of adults over 60, and many cases go undiagnosed, with people simply assuming leg pain during walking is a normal part of aging rather than a treatable circulation issue. If you regularly experience leg pain or cramping during walking that improves with rest, it's worth mentioning to your doctor specifically, since this pattern is one of the classic signs of peripheral artery disease. Blood pressure and overall vascular health. Beyond localized leg circulation, beet juice has also been extensively studied for its effect on blood pressure more broadly, which matters here because healthier overall blood pressure supports better circulation throughout the entire body, including the extremities. Multiple clinical trials and reviews pooling results across dozens of studies have found that beet juice consumption is associated with meaningful reductions in both systolic and diastolic blood pressure, with effects sometimes appearing within just a few hours of a single dose. The blood pressure lowering effect appears to work through the same nitric oxide pathway we've been discussing, since relaxed, widened blood vessels naturally reduce the pressure the heart needs to generate to circulate blood throughout the body. For older adults managing borderline or elevated blood pressure, this represents a second, complementary way beet juice may support overall vascular health, beyond the leg-specific research we just covered. It's worth noting that people already on blood pressure medication should be aware that beet juice may have an additive effect, potentially lowering blood pressure further than expected when combined with medication, which is worth discussing with a doctor rather than assuming more is automatically better. Exercise performance and endurance. Beet juice has also been widely studied in athletes, but the findings are directly relevant here too, since they help explain part of why walking and light activity often feel easier after regular beet juice consumption. Several studies have found that dietary nitrates from beet juice improve the efficiency of oxygen use in muscle tissue, meaning muscles can perform the same amount of work using less oxygen than they otherwise would. For someone managing reduced circulation or general age-related decline in exercise tolerance, this improved oxygen efficiency may translate into being able to walk farther or stand longer before feeling fatigued, essentially getting more usable activity out of the same circulatory capacity. This connects directly back to daily mobility and independence, two things we talk about often on this channel, since maintaining walking tolerance is closely tied to overall functional independence as we age. How much to drink and when? So how much beet juice should you actually drink, and does timing matter? Most of the clinical research showing measurable benefit for blood flow and blood pressure use somewhere between 1/2 cup and 1 full cup of concentrated beet juice daily, though some studies use slightly less when using a more concentrated shot-style product. Timing does appear to matter somewhat, particularly for the exercise and walking-related benefits. Nitric oxide levels typically peak 2 to 3 hours after drinking beet juice. So if you're specifically trying to support easier walking or reduce leg discomfort during activity, drinking it 2 to 3 hours before your walk or exercise session appears to align with when the effect is strongest, based on the timing used in most research. For general daily circulation support, rather than a specific activity window, consistency matters more than precise timing, similar to several of the other topics we've covered on this channel. Drinking a serving at roughly the same time each day, whether that's with breakfast or in the early afternoon, tends to produce more reliable long-term results than sporadic use. A few practical notes. A few practical things worth knowing before you try this. Beet juice will very likely turn your urine or stool a pink or reddish color, a harmless and well-known effect called beeturia that some people find alarming the first time it happens. It's not blood and it's not dangerous, simply a pigment called betalain passing through your system. Beet juice is also fairly high in natural sugar and oxalates, a compound that can contribute to kidney stones in people who are prone to them. If you have a history of kidney stones, particularly the calcium oxalate type, it's worth discussing beet juice with your doctor before making it a daily habit. Diluting concentrated beet juice with water can also help reduce the sugar content per serving if that's a concern, without significantly reducing the nitrate content that provides the circulation benefit. Who should be careful? As we mentioned earlier, anyone on blood pressure medication should talk to their doctor before adding daily beet juice, given the potential additive blood pressure lowering effect. The same caution applies to anyone taking medications specifically for erectile dysfunction, since those work through a related nitric oxide pathway, and combining them with a strong dietary source of nitrates could theoretically increase the risk of blood pressure dropping too low. People managing kidney stones, as mentioned, should also check with their doctor given the oxalate content. For most other adults over 60 without these specific concerns, beet juice has a strong safety record across the research we've covered today. But as with anything on this channel, when in doubt, a quick conversation with your doctor is always worth having before making a daily habit change. If you found this helpful, hit subscribe. We cover research-backed health topics for people over 60 every week, and we always try to give you the full, honest picture. If you missed our video on the vegetable researchers are watching closely for its effect on vision after 60, I'll link it right here. Better circulation really can start with something as simple as a daily glass of juice. See you in the next one.